He is just a boy. Obi-Wan can no longer help him.
Welcome back to the dark side, everyone of YouTube. Darth Vader coming back at you with another video today, and we're going to be reacting to scary animated horror stories. So without further ado, let's jump right into it, shall we?
This happened when I was about 22 years old. I had been going to horror experiences as a group for a while at the time. It was a lot of fun until this happened. There were 5 of us in the group, and we traveled to scary places all over the country, exploring places like abandoned houses or haunted places. Along the way, we occasionally saw ghosts, experienced mysterious things, but for the most part, there was nothing to be worried about. Then one day, the leader of the group called to say that he'd found something a little more out of the ordinary this time.
Like?
A man had reached out to him, saying that something horrifying was living in his house, and that we should come and see it. He wouldn't tell us what it was, but we were curious and eager to see it, so we decided to visit. That day, we packed our bags and set off for the house. After a 5-hour drive, we arrived at the house.
Is that the
It was an
mystery
ordinary
machine?
house, and when we entered, we were greeted by a middle-aged man. He was living alone. He began to tell us about the creature that lived in his house. With sparkling eyes, he explained excitedly what a strange creature it was. We were full of curiosity. He told us that one day, while hunting in the
I feel like this motherfucker is full of shit.
forest, he came across a creature that he had never seen before in his life. And the moment he saw it, he knew it wasn't an animal nor human. The creature was wounded and bleeding, and its blood was brown. He captured it and brought it home and
I wouldn't necessarily say it had brown blood. I would say maybe its blood composition. Maybe it has like naturally red blood like we do, but its composition is that, well, whenever we bleed and we dry it off with like we've got an arm bleed right here. It's not that bad, but we kind of want to get it under control with like a tissue, a paper towel, or what have you. Um, it goes onto that tissue or paper towel red, but then over time, if you see it again, it's like, oh yeah, I remember when that happened. You see that even on a paper towel or a tissue, the blood went from being red to brown, in a sense, brown. So maybe, with his creature, its blood is red like ours, but its composition, or because it's different from us, the moment this blood comes into contact with air, it immediately turns brown.
tied it up. The creature didn't drink water. It didn't eat bread, vegetables, fruit, or anything else. It would only eat live animals. It would eat and digest the whole thing, including every drop of blood and bone. So the man went out hunting every day and brought back animals to feed the creature. It had an amazing appetite, devouring animals every day, and the man said he was exhausted from hunting every day. But his expression seemed excited while saying this. He did
Here's a smarter thing to do in the future if you're hunting. Don't feed all of your shit in one day. If you're tired from hunting every single day, hold that stuff that you catch. It's like, I don't feel like going out hunting today. Here you go. This is from the other day.
didn't tell anyone about it because he was afraid that if he called the police, they would take the creature away.
You damn right
And
they
if he
would.
spoke to the media, someone would definitely come and steal it.
Steal
Then he
it.
said he was only showing it to us because he thought it would be okay for people like us. His story was hard to believe until we saw it with our own 2 eyes. After a while, he led us to the basement. When we entered the basement, there was a chained creature we had never seen before. It looked like a man, but it had large, sharp bones sticking from every bone in its body, and its skin was made of a hard, plastic-like material. It had large, wide teeth. As soon as it saw us, it started hopping mad, drooling sticky yellow saliva. We were terrified that it would break the chain. The man laughed and said, "It's amazing, isn't it? I've
No.
never fed it human meat before. It probably won't even be a bite for him." We were all terrified and tried to take pictures, but the man wouldn't let us. So we stood there, completely blown away by the sight, when suddenly he shoved our bags toward the creature. One of my friends, Lila, actually got close enough to be grabbed by it, but managed to get away. The man let out a short sigh of regret, and we yelled at him, "What are you doing?" Another friend, Brady, became enraged and punched the man in the face. But the man was an incredibly strong man, and Brady couldn't take him down. He grabbed Brady and threw him at the monster, which bit down on Brady's leg. There was a tremendous crunch and the sound of a bone breaking, with Brady's scream shaking the basement. My friends barely managed to pull Brady to safety, and his leg was badly crushed and torn. I was outraged and managed to tackle the man. I knocked him down and began punching him ferociously in the face. And
Son of a bitch. Fuck. I'm sorry, didn't you just say earlier that this guy was a strong man and Brady couldn't take him down or anything? How do you...
my friends joined in. The man's face was eventually covered in blood, and we...
One person starts beating the shit out of somebody, then two more people get in on that shit. That reminds me of that one episode from Golden Wind, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5, Golden Wind. I'm pretty sure Narancia was the one who started it. Then, who was it? Mista. I think it was Mista. If it wasn't Fugo, got in on it. But I know it was Abagio who got in on it too. So I remember it was Narancia and Abagio, but I don't remember if it was Mista or Fugo who got in on that too.
quickly gave first aid to Brady. The creature was screaming a bizarre noise and seemed to be amused. We quickly got out of there and went to the hospital. The doctor looked at Brady's leg and asked what happened. And when we told him about the monster, he didn't believe us.
Of course he didn't.
Luckily, Brady was treated and he was fine. But to this day, his leg is covered with some very serious scars.
I bet.
We called the police and the man was punished. But the police seemed to keep the monster's existence a secret.
Naturally.
Since then, our meetings are over, and we've continued to search for the creature, but have never found out its true identity.
Well, yeah, that is some kind of fucked up shit there. So, alrighty. We're gonna move on to the next story here. True hotel horror story. Hotel.
My name is Kale,
Trivago.
and this is based on my real-life experience. I work as a businessman in Morocco and got sent on a business trip to Nigeria on the 26th of January, 2022. I wasn't really interested in traveling again, but I had to, so I packed my bags and made my way to the airport. I landed safely in Nigeria and got escorted to a luxurious hotel room, where I was informed about how safe the hotel was and how I had nothing to worry about. Being uninterested in their banter, all that was on my mind was, get done with the business deal and leave. The next day, I woke up and made my way to the company to get done with the meeting and sign the contract. The whole day went slow as hell, and I was glad that it was finally over. Making my way to my room, which was on the ground floor, I swiped my card onto the lock and walked in, locking the door behind me. I decided to freshen up as I had already had my dinner before making my way back to the room. As soon as I was done, I packed my stuff for my departure the next day and headed straight to bed by 11 p.m. The clock
Okay.
struck 3 a.m. on the 28th of January. At that hour, I woke up and decided to use the restroom. When I was done, I made my way to the dispenser to get myself some water to drink. As I was about to take a sip, my eyes made contact with the window, the curtain slightly pushed aside. I could see a girl in a gown, around the age of 6, standing next to the tree, not too far from my window. She just stood there, staring at me. I sighed and looked at the time, which read 3:10 a.m. I shouted out to her, saying, "Hey, kid, it's dangerous to be out there alone. Return back to your room." I turned around unbothered, but the atmosphere didn't feel right. I turned to look out the window again, but this time it was no longer the girl, but a little boy, who stood there, staring right back at me. "What the?" I cursed as I shouted again, while gripping the window pane. "It's too late to be out on pranks, kids. Get back to your rooms." In anger, I turned around to leave, but then I remembered I left the window open, and when I turned to close it, my eyes widened as I released a gasp. The hairs on my skin rose at what I saw. This time, it was a dog. It didn't feel normal to me. All it did was stand in the same spot while staring right into my room. In fear, I slammed the window shut, locked it, and ran back to my bed, covering myself with my blanket, shaking with fear. I tried controlling my breath, but I passed out from fear. I woke up at 8 a.m. in the morning and got dressed as my flight is to take off by 10:30 a.m. As I walked towards the door, I noticed something, which made me remember everything. It all turned out to be a dream, but one thing I couldn't get over was that the door was unlocked and slightly ajar. My heart raced in fear. I checked all my belongings and noticed that nothing was missing. I remember locking my door before heading to bed. But what happened? The security checked all the CCTV cameras, but found nothing. At this point, I wasn't interested in staying at the hotel any longer. I thanked the receptionist, and I left for my flight. I arrived in Morocco safely, and not a day passes that I do not think about what happened in Nigeria. What exactly happened at the luxurious hotel in Abuja?
Spooky ass shit. um. True sea trip horror story.
The story begins in the summer of 2020, when my girlfriend, some friends, and I were on a trip to a town near my city for a few days. The city has a beautiful port area with some cliffs behind it. These cliffs are very high, and jumping from them, it is impossible. Instead of sand, there were hard rocks and stones. The small town is famous for two things: its tourists and its fishermen. On the first day of our trip, we decided to go for a walk to the cliffs, to watch the sunset and bring some beer and snacks. The town's coast is situated in a big gulf that includes our hometown as well, so they're pretty close to one another. There was a large oil tanker that was anchored in the Gulf for an extended period of time because of false documentation. Nobody claimed the illegal ship, and the crew were off of the ship, so it was just stranded there for over a year. As we watched the sunset, only the large oil tanker and a few fishing boats were in the calm sea. It was a wonderful summer evening. The sun eventually set, and we had a few laughs talking about stuff we wanted to do that summer. However, my friend Alexander noticed something odd. "Hey, shouldn't that ship be empty, guys?" he said. At first I ignored it, thinking it was an automatic light that just happened to be flashing that night. But eventually, the flashing lights became two, and then three, and suddenly a large portion of the ship was clearly illuminated. It seemed strange, but we knew nothing about ships, so we assumed there must have been a mechanic left behind to watch and maintain the ship while someone came to take it home. We went to bed, and all of my friends had already forgotten about it, except for me. I had a nagging feeling that something
I
was
don't know
wrong.
why that if
The very
that
next day,
shading
we
effect
went
is
to a local
funny.
fast food chain to get some breakfast, and the TV inside was on the local town channel, which gave information about nearly everything. And then we saw it. 3 sailors dead after attempting to board an abandoned ship in the Gulf last night. Reports say that 2 of them had their throats cut, and the third one died from electric shock.
Damn.
Did what we saw have anything to do with the sailors' deaths? Or was it just a sad coincidence? Why were the lights shining? Who cut the sailors' throats? And what were they searching for on this ship? I still don't know to this day. The police dismissed the case as an accident a month later.
How do you dismiss that as an accident when 2 people were clearly cut and 2 people were killed via throat slash, and the third guy was killed via electrocution? I mean, the electrocution part, I can probably believe that to be a accident. An accident. But the other 2, not so much.
It gives me the chills to think about an incident that happened when I was 13. I still remember it, even to this day. So here's the story. One day at school, my friends decided to play Ding Dong Ditch.
Oh, God.
Let's call them Anthony, Ed, David, and Josh.
And that ends up being their names.
So once we planned everything, we went out around 6 p.m. and started deciding which house we should do. There was this one house that was creepy looking, and I heard rumors that a crazy man was living at that place.
It's not that
Being dumb
unusual.
kids, we decided to see if the rumors were true. Being the fastest one, I had to knock first. So I did around 3 times and ran. Then I hid behind a bush where Ed was hiding. I jumped when the door swung open and a crazed man looked out the door. I realized that this man wasn't normal. He was screaming and saying, "I'm gonna kill you," then slammed the door.
But first I need to figure out which way you're standing. I'm sorry, if his eyes are drawn like that,
We were a little terrified, but we decided it was Anthony's turn to knock. I told him to walk slowly, then run to us when he's done. So Anthony knocked, then ran to where we were hiding. A few seconds later, the guy opened the door with something that gave me the chills. A knife and a metal baseball bat. Ed said, "Run!" The guy
No,
heard
don't
Ed and
run,
started chasing
dumbass.
us at a terrifying speed. We hid behind a neighbor's house. We stayed there until we felt like he was gone. But this part is something that I can call paralyzation. The guy was right there, but instead of a knife, the man was holding Ed. We screamed, then ran to our houses.
Fuck you,
My
Ed.
mind was racing. Was Ed going to be okay? I called David and Josh and I asked them if they were home yet. And they said yes. Then they asked me where was Ed. I told them what happened to Ed. And they were in shock. I wish the story ended here.
Oh, God.
But it doesn't. That day I was getting ready for bed, thinking about what had just happened. While I was laying in bed, there was a thunderstorm. Then, after a few flashes, there was a shadowy figure appearing after each flash of lightning. I turned to look, and there he was, looking at me. And he gave me a bone-chilling grin. To this day, I still haven't told anybody about this incident. Ed went missing. And
He's
still
dead.
missing to this day.
He's dead. Mystery solved. He's missing, but he's dead. We are going to watch one more video. And yeah, we'll go from there. Neighbor. Oh, and it's a dog.
back when I lived with an ex in LA, California, I had an orange and white female pit bull named Missy. One night, when I took her out front in my yard to go to the bathroom, my next-door neighbor, I recognized him, but had never spoken with him before, was walking by. There was no other people around, and the street was completely empty besides him,
That's a look of
myself, and my
satisfaction
dog.
right there.
He struck up conversation, and suddenly and abruptly began quickly walking into my yard and right at me. He was big, gross, creepy, and probably in his 40s or 50s, while I was only 19. It was
That's
one
the
of those
problem.
moments where someone does one small thing that normally wouldn't seem threatening, but your instincts, your feelings, just immediately start telling you that something is wrong and you are in danger. My dog suddenly pulled at her leash, snarling and barking at the guy. She even had a line of fur down her back and was standing straight up. She was always the nicest dog, never acted that way. I guess her instincts were freaking out just like mine were. The man stopped dead in his tracks, stared at my dog with fear on his face, then looked up at me and asked me, "Does your dog bite?" And
Yes.
even though she never bit anyone, I lied and said, "Yeah, she bites," while looking him right in the eye and not blinking. He quickly backed out of my yard and rushed into his house and never tried to talk to me again, even though I lived next door to him for several years after that. Years and years later, after I'd broken up with my ex I lived with, I moved back home to Oregon. I was bored one day, and I'd recently learned that there's a website where you can see if any sex offenders live in your neighborhood. I decided to check it out,
I'm pretty sure they also sent something in the mail to let you know of that too.
because I loved going for walks at night, but no longer owned a dog who could protect me.
Why not?
I looked up my area where I lived, then decided to look up the area I had lived in California. A picture of that creepy next-door neighbor popped up on my phone. He was a sex offender, and the whole time I lived there, I never knew. So that's the story of how my dog saved me from being attacked by my neighbor who was a sex offender.
Yeah,
I
we
loved
established
that
that
dog,
part. We don't
and
need
I
that
miss
anymore.
her.
Well, that certainly changes things up a whole lot. Yeah. So, okay, yeah. I don't know if we have time for at least one more video. That was shorter than I realized, so I want to do at least another 2 minute. We'll do another 2 minute and then we'll call it.
Hello, my name is Juliana. I am currently 13 years old with dark brown hair and dark brown eyes. I will admit this isn't the scariest of stories, but it still confuses me to this day.
Okay.
This happened to me in mid 2017. For some context, my mom works in a job where she has to travel a lot. So, a few days before this happened, she said she had a trip and she would be gone for a few days. I was pretty sad, but I knew it was just a business trip and she would be back soon. A few days passed, and my sisters, dad, and I were just having fun. Going out, watching movies, eating snacks, the usual. Finally, the day arrived that my mom would finally be back. I was having some trouble sleeping for a few weeks, so I was lying in my bed, unable to sleep. Then, I heard the door open and heard footsteps. But this is when it got weird. It sounded like men's footsteps, and then it just stopped. I was very confused, but played it off as our neighbors. I lived in a townhouse, so it made sense in my 9-year-old head. Finally, at around 2 a.m., I heard a woman's footsteps and saw a woman on the top of the stairs. She was wearing a pencil skirt, and it looked identical to my mom. My mom's favorite type of skirt is a pencil skirt, so
Okay.
naturally, I thought that woman was her. I wanted to go up to her and hug her, but I had a feeling that she was exhausted, so I let her walk into the bedroom. However, about an hour later, I heard the door downstairs open. And I went downstairs and turned on the light. There was my mom. She asked me what I was doing up, and I lied to her, saying that I was waiting for her. I still think about this from time to time. Inside, I was panicking. Who or what was that lady? And why did she look like my mom? Did I miss her so much that I started hallucinating?
Mm-mm.
I'm so grateful that I decided to stay in my bed and not go up to her. I still wonder what I would have seen if I had gone up to that lady.
If I had to guess, I would say it was a doppelganger. That's my guess, at least. I could be wrong. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Hope you all enjoyed it. And if you did, be sure to hit the like button. If you're new around here, be sure to subscribe. Turn on the notification icon so you don't miss a single video that I upload. We are 21 days away from Halloween and 17 days away from the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. So, can't wait to do a video leading up to the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. And I might do a video after I see the movie to provide my thoughts. I won't do any spoilers. I'll just provide my thoughts and let you all go from there. So that's going to do it for today's video, guys. May the force be with you, and remember, your destiny lies with me. Obi-Wan knew this to be true.